So I've been invited to DVD bongs, and I'm like, nah, I don't do that. And they're like, you don't do what? They try to act like, yeah, we're just gonna watch a movie. I'm like, I've been here for a year now. I know what that is. I know what it means. He's like, oh, okay, I guess you know. But you're gonna try to trick me into f***ing you? I'm sorry, that's what? What's up, idols? It's Cece Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to give you guys some tips, reminders, and such that can be useful for your life in Korea as a foreigner. This video is going to count down 10 reminders / tips for you being in Korea as a foreigner, some things that I learned along the way, some things I wish people told me before I got there. And yeah, I figured, you know, 2021 is here, and I'm hoping that with the vaccine rolling out and new leadership, we'll be in better standings to be able to travel. I know people are anxious to get travelers and tourists back, so I feel like things are going to be cheaper and more affordable, and there's always going to be like those welcome back stuff, like for accommodations and flights. So I am really optimistic about how this year is going to go. I myself, and so far so good. I'm going to be going to Korea in about 2 weeks, and then I got the 2-week quarantine, and then I'll be able to make some content for you guys. But this is all, they change their quarantine requirements and their visa allowances daily. Like, it's changing all the time, and I'm surprised Americans aren't banned yet, and it may be happening soon. So hopefully I can get there before that happens. So I know some people who are about to go to Korea for the first time, and I know people who plan to go to Korea for the first time. So I hope this video will be helpful to you guys. And stick around to the end, because number one, especially for the ladies, this is really important because this is a reoccurring problem in Korea. Okay, so tip number 10. This is something that I think I can speak for as an American. It kind of took me time to adapt to in Korea, because in the States, we're allowed to have like small talk with a stranger. Like, if it's just me and a stranger, I might be, hey, good morning, good afternoon, how are you? In Korea, don't do that. Do not approach a stranger for small talk. I mean, if you want to start a reoccurring conversation, if you want to actually talk to them, maybe. But they're already fearful of foreigners because they hope that we don't just come up to them and start speaking in English. I did that in Korea. I'm like, John Achimieyo. They're like, they looked at me like I was gonna rob them, or like I had some weird motive behind just saying good morning or it's a good morning. I don't know. Again, I'll only say as American. I'm not trying to say only Americans are this polite, but in American culture, I know it's really common to just talk to somebody, just to start up small talk. I don't know how it is where you guys are from. Let me know. In your home countries, are you guys allowed to just go up and talk to strangers and say, oh, good morning, or oh, I like your sweater? In Korea, don't do that. They will look at you like you're a weirdo. Like, Number 9. Now, I talked about this before. It's one of the biggest things that's like so weird for me, because I took it so offensively when I first got to Korea. In America, again, I'm only saying this because it's where I grew up, but when someone is like, if you're opening the door, like if you're in a department store, convenience store, any public space, or even like an apartment complex door or whatever, if there's someone within like 10 feet of you, 12 feet of you, you will hold it open for them. It's kind of like a reflex. We just do that. And if we don't, then it's kind of seen as rude in America, like if you don't hold the door open for somebody. In Korea, they will let that shit slam and hit you twice in the face. Like, don't take it the wrong way. Like, if you're walking up and then the door just closes in your face because they don't hold it for you, they don't generally do that in Korea. So, number 8, black taxis in Seoul. Now, this fucked me up because I lived in Jeju my whole first year in Korea. I would fly out to Seoul on weekends. Now, in Jeju, as of recording this video, as of my time there, black taxis, orange taxis, silver taxis all have the same rate, the same fare, nothing really changes. In Seoul, black taxis cost more because they're English friendly. I'm used to taking any old color taxi in Jeju. I flew to Seoul for the first time in March of 2017. I get off at the airport, I'm at Gimpo Airport, and I hear, hello, do you need taxi in English? I'm like, well, yes I do, thank you. And I had to take the taxi from Gimpo Airport to our Airbnb in Gangnam. Now, a normal fare would only cost about 24,000 won. This one cost me literally double. It was 48,000 won for that, for their English services. And this English was no better than the average Korean taxi driver. So that's a scam if I ever did saw one. I already warned you guys about taxis in club districts many times, so I'll just say it again for some of the newer people. Taxis that don't run the meter are illegal. A lot of taxi drivers like to wait outside of clubs and bars like, hello, you need a taxi? Or they don't necessarily say it in English. Taxi 필요해요? Taxi? 어디 가? And they'll tell you right off the bat, oh, Saman won, 30,000 won. And you're like, huh? If you're not familiar with that, you're like, okay, that seems fair. But no, that's not fair. Whenever they refuse to run the meter or don't run the meter, that is illegal. They even have signs in taxis that say, like, for foreign services, yada yada yada, they have the number, and they let you know if the taxi driver refuses to run the fare, that is illegal. But they do that a lot in the clubby districts. I've never spent more than like 25,000 won in a taxi. They be trying it because they know you need to get home. They do Saman won, 30,000 won, Saman won, 40,000, Oman won, 50,000 won. They be tripping. Be cautious of that. Another taxi tip. This only happened to me once, and I don't know if it's necessarily the rule of thumb. The one time that I just got in the taxi and I didn't sit behind the driver's right, he yelled at me. He's like looking at me in the rearview mirror and cursing me out and asking me what's wrong with me. He told me to sit on his right. So I'm like, my bad, dang. I didn't know that was a thing. Now, normally, do your best when you get in a taxi, and especially if it's just you, sit in the back right of the taxi driver. Don't sit next to him. Don't sit right behind him. Sit in the back right. I don't know why. I don't know if that's like a thing, but I got yelled at the one time I didn't. So, just some taxi tips. Okay, number 7. I think this is more for like Americans, because in America, when you go to a restaurant, you have to tip your waiter or your server. A lot of other countries has it where it's already like factored in. America didn't get that memo. We haven't caught up yet. If you try to tip a server in Korea, they are extremely offended. I've only seen it happen once because luckily we were kind of prepared for that in our orientation. So I don't know anyone who tried it except for 2018. It was the Winter Olympics. We were in Gangneung and we were in a bar full of foreigners. Oh my God, there were so many like Canadian flags, Swedish flags, people from the Netherlands, UK. So this dude's drunk, he's a foreigner, he didn't know any better. It's like he was just used to it. So he's like, and called the waiter back over and gave her extra money. She's like, he's like, take it. And she's like offended. And we had to explain to him, because like we're teachers, like we kind of know. It's like, oh, you don't tip your server in Korea, they find that offensive. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like he didn't mean anything by it, but the lady was kind of pissed off. So do not tip your servers in Korea. They don't need that, okay? Number 6, when you leave your apartments in Korea, do not forget to turn off your gas and your like ondol, because I've done that a few times. In Korea, when you have like a burner, like for your stove, the gas, I've had 2 apartments in Korea. I've been to a few people's places in Korea, and I've always seen this. There's like a little, it might be an older apartment thing. I've always lived in like an older apartment, so I don't know. But they have like a little nozzle thing that you have to like turn on and turn off as you use your gas range, as you use your stove. So be really careful to turn that off when you're done with it. Like I remember when I first moved into my new apartment in Taeyeon, the next day I woke up to somebody banging at the door and they wanted to check for a gas leak, and it was leaking because I guess the person before me did not turn it off. I'm not sure how that happened because I didn't cook. I still don't cook, but for 2021 I'm trying to get better acquainted in the kitchen. So I had no reason to turn it on. I didn't turn it on, so out of paranoia, I tend to keep my kitchen windows cracked and everything. Any window that's near the stove, I just keep it cracked just in case. Now I was actually lucky because if you guys saw my apartment tour, the kitchen and like the gas range and the sink and stuff is like locked off with a slider door. So I didn't smell it, but it was actually leaking. So there's a little nozzle. Make sure you turn that off when you're done with it. Now for those who are visiting Korea in the colder months, make sure you don't leave your ondol on. For one, it's expensive, and it's oh my gosh. Okay, so I particularly had a bad habit of doing this when I lived in Jeju. I had to wake up every morning. I would leave my apartment like 6:55, 7 a.m. ish to catch my bus to go to Seogwipo. And you know, it's cold, you don't want to leave. And I already am like half not here in my mind. So I wouldn't even realize it's on until I come back home, and my apartment is literally a hot box. And I'm just like, oh my God. Ondol is like the floor heater. It works really well. You do not need to leave it on, but I have a bad habit of that because in Korea they have like a panel, kind of like with your AC unit, like, or heater. We mostly have central heating and central air. In Korea they have like an AC unit that works really well, so you don't have to worry about that. And they also have like a floor heater, so like under the floors it literally gets warm. And it's also dependent on how new or old your setup is, it may or may not be attached with your hot water. Both of my apartments had it separate. I left my hot water on all the time, and the ondol I would only use when it was like really cold. Make sure you don't forget to turn that off. There's been many times where I left it on. So I would leave my apartment at like 7 a.m. I'd come back home at like 5 p.m., 6 p.m.-ish, depending on traffic. And then my apartment is an oven, literally an oven. And it's expensive. You do not need to leave it on that long. Some people choose like to buy a space heater. I got lucky because there was already one left for me, and it's a lot cheaper than the ondol. So just for like a little tip for people who are like gonna have an apartment or an Airbnb or something in Korea. Don't forget to turn off your gas when you're done with the stove, and don't forget to turn your ondol off because it's expensive. So from 5 and up, we're gonna get more into like dating life, social life. These are gonna be a little more intimate, so here you go. Number 5, stay away from military men in Korea. Now look, I'm not trying to condemn all of them, but in my experience and from the stories I've heard from my friends, military men in Korea are the definition of I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, I've only ever talked to one dude. I forgot how we got each other's like IG and Kakao, I can't remember. But I do remember he asked for my Instagram, I gave him my Instagram, I went on his, and I saw like he's like trying to get to know me. He's like asking if he could take me out. Oh, I'm from Atlanta. I was like, oh, that's cool. And you know, I have an older brother that lives here, like making small talk. So I go on his IG and I see that he has a whole fiance and a daughter. So he asked me, hey, so when you trying to chill? And I'm like, we gonna bring your daughter? He said, oh damn, you saw that, huh? I was like, yeah, I saw that. Even my friends are like, yo, why are they such hoes? Like Itaewon is the foreigner district. Like there's a major military base built there, but I think their main one is actually about to be closer to the North Korean border. So I'm not really sure what's gonna happen in Itaewon, but Itaewon is the foreigner place because of that base primarily. And you tend to see a lot of thirst on the streets of Itaewon. Like it makes me embarrassed. Like you see these white military dudes chasing after Korean girls. You see these foreign military dudes like hey shorty. Like, one thing I really like about being in Korea is the catcalling is not a thing. And then when I'm around Americans or foreigners, I'm like, oh yeah, that's catcalling. I forgot how much I hated that. I had a teacher friend, she was from South Africa. She was really short. Like she was a really short, cute girl. She was like 4'9", had a big old butt. And this dude said something about trying to put his finger in her butt, just yelled it to her right on the streets. And I'm like, I'm gonna say be wary of military men in Korea. That's all I'm gonna say. Do with that what you will. Okay, number 4. This is a good tip for people who don't drink, because in Korea, drinking culture is like very synonymous. Like they go hand in hand. It's peanut butter and jelly, kimchi and rice. So yeah, for those who don't really drink, unfortunately, like if you're going to work or if you're trying to have a social life, if an older person, like an older friend, an older coworker, an older boss, somebody of like higher rank than you offers you a drink, it's rude to say no. Now you can always just explain to them, I don't really drink, I'm sorry, and you'll probably get a foreigner pass. You're very likely to get, oh okay, you're a foreigner, it's okay. But one thing that my mentor teacher showed me, normally you have like a shot glass, right? This is my my chapstick. Normally you have like a shot glass, so what you can do is just sip it. Bosses and coworkers and stuff only refill it once it's empty, so you can't, they don't refill a drink that's like halfway or a quarter gone. So when everybody takes their shot, if you just sip your drink, there you go, sip your little shot. Just make sure that one drink lingers. They don't really ask questions. Now me, I don't have a problem drinking, so I would just take it to the head. Yeah, that's one thing that my mentor teacher told me. She was like, oh, you know, if you don't drink, she's like, are you okay with the drinking? Do you normally drink? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. So I noticed that's how she did it too. She kind of just sipped her drink and nobody refilled it for her. So that could be a little tip for you. If you don't drink, sip your drink real slow. Of course, you know, just flat out saying I don't drink will work as well, but yeah. Number 3, do not go to a DVD bang unless you're trying to bang. Bang, bang, get it?
Oh my god.
Got it!
Korea does like to feign this innocence and pure egyo oppa type of culture, but they are freaks just like the rest of the world. So DVD bangs, I think they had a good intention. It was supposed to be a place where people could go and key money and deposits on apartments and homes are really expensive in Korea. So it's really common for people to live with their parents for longer, and their grandparents are there too sometimes. So younger people who want alone time with friends and friends like to go to DVD bangs. And love motels, for example, like they charge by the hour because some people don't even need that long. I mean, don't get me wrong, if that's what you're into, there you go. If somebody invites you to a DVD bang, that's probably what their intentions are. But I've been asked to go a few times. I've never gone. For one, I can only imagine how gross it must be in there. And there is zero part of me that is even in the slightly, there's no bone in my body that is slightly or even remotely interested in hooking up. Just casual sex is not my thing. So I've been invited to DVD bangs and I'm like, nah, I don't do that. And they're like, you don't do what? They try to act like, yeah, we're just gonna watch a movie. I'm like, I've been here for a year now. I know what that is. I know what it means. He's like, oh, okay, I guess you know. But you're gonna try to trick me into f***ing you? I'm sorry, that's, what? So yeah, like it might seem like a sweet, cute way to just hang out with your person one-on-one, but again, if that's what you're looking for, there you go. If not, don't go to a DVD bong unless you want to bang. Okay, number 2, do not flush your toilet paper down the toilets. Now this is one I think a lot of people know for the most part, but there's still a lot of people who don't. I think the plumbing is getting a lot more like modernized, and it's becoming more okay to flush, but if you see a waste bin in the bathroom, like in the stall with you, throw it away. If you don't see a waste bin in there with you, like in the actual stall, then you're probably good to flush. Sometimes you'll see a sign that says do not flush. So it just depends on where you are, but it's just a rule for thumb. If there's a big waste bin in there with you, throw it. If not, flush it. There were even some people I knew in their own homes who would just throw it away. I've flushed. I always flush. I'm like, it's my private home, my private toilet. I think I'm good. So I just flushed. But just in case you know this is a thing, you can ask like your landlord about it and stuff like that. Okay, number 1. Really important because it's something that Korean people are finally starting to talk about and acknowledge as a problem. But as foreigners, we need to really be cautious about this and prepared and alert, because there's not a whole lot of obvious ways to protect you and defend you from this. So the number 1 tip as a foreign female in Korea, I think you need to be on the lookout for spy cams. I'm a paranoid. If paranoia was a person, it'd be me. I'm paranoia personified. I don't even use subway bathrooms. I will hold it. So if I know I'm gonna be out with my friends for a long day, I don't drink that much. I would dehydrate myself rather than have to use a random bathroom.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it!
I wait till I get home. I will never forget, we saw like a group of female cops and like security guard ladies going into a bathroom with gloves, and they had like trash bags. I'm like, what are they doing? They don't look like janitors. And they come out, like they had to close the bathroom for like 5 or 10 minutes. They did a whole sweep, and they came out with a bag full of like tiny little like camera lenses and microchips and stuff. I don't know why this is such a thing. I can't understand people who find that attractive or get off on that, but I'm sure you guys have heard about certain scandals in Korea that involve this.
Expose him! Expose him!
I've seen it once, now I'm assuming it's everywhere. I've heard the stories, I've read the articles, so please be on the lookout for that when you go to the bathroom. They're really good at hiding them, unfortunately. There's no real way to like guard yourself of that. They do have like people who do sweeps and stuff. There are people who are like experts in finding these too. I saw like some Asian boss videos where he was talking about how to find them in hotel rooms. I'm like, what? Like it's sad that you gotta go through all that, but I feel like it's better to know than to not know. So those are it, 10. Those are my tips and reminders and things to be aware of as a foreigner in Korea. Again, I kind of just decided to make this video today, so I sat down last night and just thought about like 10 things that I think might be helpful for you guys. So if you guys want more videos like this, let me know, because your girl got the tea. I got it up here. I be knowing. Thanks for watching. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Annyeong.